I freeze-dried guacamole about a month ago, and this is all I have left. And if you've ever had freeze-dried avocados before, you know full well how completely terrible they are. So I was completely surprised when I found out that guacamole is one of the best things I've ever freeze-dried. So today I'm gonna show you exactly how I made it and why it's one of the best things that you can ever freeze-dry. The ingredients we're using here today, we've got a white onion, some limes, Roma tomatoes, avocados, we've got some habaneros, some jalapenos, some garlic. We're also gonna use some salt and pepper, as well as some cilantro. The tomatoes are an easy one to start with. These don't need to be cut up to look nice. We just need to kind of chop them up just a little bit. We're gonna do 4 Roma tomatoes. I'm also trying my best to kind of build a recipe on exactly how I make this, so that way I can share that with you. Let's go ahead and work on our onion. For the onion, I'm just gonna go with half of an onion for now. These habaneros, let's start with 3 and see where that gets us. I like my guac to be kind of spicy, so do what you will with the habaneros. Jalapenos, once again, just kind of roughly chop it up. 1 for the bowl, 1 for me. Another one. And 1 more. We're gonna do 3 jalapenos to get us started in this recipe. I like a lot of cilantro. Half a bushel of cilantro, roughly chop it up here, because it's all gonna get blended up here in just a second. And let's start with 3 cloves of garlic. Now before I blend this up, I'm gonna write everything I just did down so I don't forget. I don't want this to be too blended up, so I'm just gonna use this type of blender right here. You can use a normal blender and blend it up however much you want. If you want your guacamole to be a little bit more chunky, then leave it a little bit more chunky. If you want it to be smooth, then leave it smooth. Mine is gonna be more on the smooth side, but it's still gonna be just a little bit chunky. It smells spicy. I'll be honest, this thing kind of scares me, but I got it blended up. Give this a try, see if I need to add or take anything away. I'm not adding any salt or anything yet because I'm gonna add that in towards the end. So this is just gonna be like a general taste. Wanna make sure I'm in the right ballpark here. It needs something. I'm gonna go with another tomato, see where that gets us. Grab another spoon, let's try this again. We're really close. Really close. When we add the lime and avocado, it's gonna change things up a bit. I'm gonna add just a little bit more of this cilantro. Whoa. Let's try this now. I think we're just about there. Oh yeah. Obviously you need some salt, but that's the right amount of heat. All the flavors are there except for the lime and avocado, and we're working on that next. I'm gonna set this aside, and the reason why I did this first is because I'm gonna mix this into the avocado, but I didn't wanna start cutting up the avocados first because then they would have started to get brown. Another thing to think about at around this point in this process is at this point, you wanna get your freeze dryer running because you want your freeze dryer to get nice and cold before you put the guacamole in there. If your freeze dryer is extremely cold already, you're gonna put it into the freeze dryer and it's just gonna freeze it really fast. So get your freeze dryer running and let it come down below freezing before you put your guacamole in. I already have mine running. I'm gonna put the settings I used on the screen somewhere right here so that way you can screenshot that if you're gonna use the same ones. But let's move on to these avocados after I clean this up a little bit because this blender is terrifying and it sprayed everywhere. So I need to fix this situation first. Actually, you know what? I lied to you. I'm adding this extra half of an onion in here. As I was cleaning up, had like kind of the aftertaste in there and I still felt like it was missing something, and it's onion, for sure, onion. So let's blend this up real quick, try it one last time. All right, let's try this. Boom, that was it. It was missing onion. We're good, moving on. And now we're gonna cut up some of our avocados and get them in there. This is the point where you do kind of want to move a little bit quickly. I have no idea how many avocados I'm gonna use. I have a lot here, but I'm gonna do my best to keep them counted so I can give you a relatively accurate recipe by the end of this. Actually, if I just keep the pits, I'll know. The last time I did this, I only did 1 tray and I used 3 large avocados. The store didn't have large avocados, so I'm using small ones. And this time I want to do 3 trays. So I'm just gonna keep filling until I feel like it's right. All right, we are on our last avocado, at least what I think is gonna be the last. There's a couple more if we need to make some more here in a minute, but I think that's gonna be enough. I haven't counted the pits yet, so I have no idea how many avocados I've used, but jump down into the comments and let me know, just based on this mess here, how many avocados do you think we used? And I'll let you know as soon as I get that counted. And now let's go ahead and toss some limes in and get this all mixed up. I'm gonna start with 3 limes. That should be good. These are definitely not the best limes, but I will make do. I'll just come in here, and this bowl would be slippery. My hand's definitely gonna hurt after this. If you have a better way of mashing your avocados, let me know, because this is not fun. I don't know if you've ever freeze dried just avocado before, but it doesn't freeze dry very well. It's just very hard. It doesn't rehydrate. I want to make sure I mash this up, because if you mash it up, it rehydrates extremely well, but leaving it whole or even in slices just does not. I have an idea. I think this is made for like ground beef, but oh, that's nice. I was actually looking for a potato masher, but this gets the job done. And now this is where you dump your mixture in here. Not the whole thing. You want to kind of put, this is about half of it now. I'm going to mix it up and see where that puts me. See where my consistency's at. And this is also where I'm going to add some AP seasoning. It's called AP seasoning, but really all it is salt, pepper, garlic. Let's go ahead and put, that's a tablespoon. Let's see where that gets us. And this is my favorite part. I don't have to try this with a spoon, because I can just try this with some chips. One more time. That's the stuff. I would say I used about half of this, so I'm gonna be building a recipe for this, and you can get the recipe in the description. I will make sure that in the recipe, I kind of subtract the extra that I have here. I'll subtract it from the recipe, because I feel like this is a pretty good ratio right here. I don't think anybody would be using this entire amount. To get these on the trays, all I'm doing is putting down parchment paper on my trays. I don't really use silicone unless I have to, because silicone honestly just kind of sucks to wash. And then I'm using one of these tiny, tiny little ice cream scoopers. You can do this any way that you'd like. This is the way that I do it. I use a tiny little ice cream scooper, and I make little dollops all on my trays. It takes a little time up front to get that done, but it's kind of nice to throw those all in a jar and be able to take out 3 or 4 for a serving, or however many you end up liking. It just keeps everything really consistent. You can also just spread this out on your trays and freeze dry it that way, break it off into little chunks. It will still rehydrate just as well. You can also put tray dividers in. There's a lot of ways you can do this. This is just how I do it. And I'm putting these little scoops as close together as I can all the way down the tray. This still allows me to freeze dry a ton of guacamole, but it also just kind of gives me some convenience when I go to rehydrate. This recipe is going to give me pretty much the exact amount that I wanted. I'm almost out here, and I'm down to my last little row. I will say that when I was on and off camera, I ate quite a bit of this stuff. So this will be 3 trays and then a snack for whoever ends up doing this exact recipe. And then I forgot that I didn't tell you how many avocados I used. If you guessed 15, it is 15, and I owe you a cookie or something. All right, yeah, I pretty much don't have any of this stuff left. It's more or less gone. I'm gonna be able to scrape up some of that with some chips as soon as I'm done here. Let's get it into the freeze dryer. My freeze dryer is already at 11 degrees, so well below freezing. So make sure you're getting it turned on early enough, because as soon as these go in, they're not gonna get brown, they're just gonna freeze right up. I'm so excited. We did 1 tray of these the last time around, because I was just kind of testing it out to see if I liked it. Blown away by how good they are. If you've never had freeze-dried guacamole, you probably didn't even know if you had freeze-dried guacamole, because it just tastes like it's fresh. Also, sometimes people ask me if I'm putting my trays in there half full. A lot of times when I film these videos, I'm filming multiple videos at a time. So you saw 2 trays already in there. That's for a separate video that I have coming out after this one. We got that going. It's gonna be a day or 2 before it's done. But if you're interested in getting anything that I've used today, so the freeze dryer, the immersion blender, the little ice cream scooper, I'm gonna have links for all of those down in the description. These are all gonna be affiliate links, so I will make a commission if you buy from them, but it doesn't cost you anything else, and it really does help us out a lot. All right, I'll see you in a minute. Good morning, it's guacamole day. This went for about 40 hours. There was also some other stuff in here for next week's video. So it wasn't just this guacamole. I would imagine if it was just the guacamole, it would have been done faster than that, because the other stuff was more liquid heavy. But look at how, it's too dark in here. I'm gonna have to show you in just a second. I'm so excited. Okay. Let's go to the kitchen. Guacamole's looking great. Let's check it out. It is very, very light, really dry. Falls right apart. To package these up, it's gonna be really easy. I'm just gonna use jars. Probably no surprise to you if you watch my videos. I use jars as much as possible. I don't always use jars this big. These jars are large and in charge jars. It was all I had. So hopefully it all fits in 2 jars. Just dump them on in. As soon as I get these loaded up, I'm gonna save a few of them so we can rehydrate it, show you how well it rehydrates. Another thing people have been asking me to do, which I haven't ever done before, but I'm not totally against it. I'm not gonna do it in this video, maybe in a short video or something. But people have been asking me to grind some of this guacamole up and use it as like a seasoning for chips or something like that. So that's not out of the realm of possibility for me to release something along those lines. Today I'm just showing you how to make this, how to rehydrate it, how to use it as you would use normal guacamole, not dried guacamole powder. It smells good, I can tell you that much. As I'm loading these up, I can just smell fresh smelling guacamole, and I'm really excited to mix some of this up here. So I'm gonna go ahead and take these 5 right here and rehydrate those. So I'm not gonna fill that jar up any further, but I am going to seal these jars. So for these, all I'm gonna do here is I'm gonna throw an oxygen absorber in each of them. And I could probably get away with just not putting one in here because I'm gonna be using that one soon, but I only have 2 oxygen absorbers left in this jar, so I'm just gonna go ahead and put one in each of these. I'm a hot mess today. When it's time for you to actually use the guacamole, it rehydrates extremely well. I've got 5 little dollops of guacamole here, so I'm gonna toss them into a bowl. And I don't have a specific amount of water that I'm putting into this. It's kind of some guesswork here. I could have figured it out by how much it weighed before and after freeze drying, but with guacamole, you don't really have to. You rehydrate it up until the consistency that you want. Just keep in mind that you can always add more water, but you can't take away. So it's a good thing to just kind of add some water into it. Just kind of experiment with it a couple times to see what's gonna work best for you. For this, I'm just gonna go ahead and pour a little bit of water in. Not much. I'm gonna let those sit there, kind of stir it around a little bit. One good thing about doing these little dollops too is if you do add too much water, like I might have here, if you do add too much water, all you have to do is just throw another dollop of guacamole in and it's not an issue. Take your spoon and kind of break it up a little bit because the middle of those dollops aren't gonna wanna rehydrate, so just kind of break into them. That looks like it's gonna be a good consistency after all, so I'm not too worried about it there. Some of these larger chunks in here aren't gonna be rehydrated yet, so what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna kind of let this sit for about 2 minutes. All right, we got some chips to try it out. Also, these are by no means my favorite chips. These are just chips that my wife happened to get. The Don Julio lightning seasoned. The Don Julio lightly seasoned tortilla chips, those, you can't beat those. There's no beating those. So if I had those, that's what I'd be using, but I'm stuck with these. It's a good thing the guacamole is good. So let's take a look at this, make sure that it's actually rehydrated all the way through. It's looking good. Moment of truth. When I tell you that you cannot taste a difference between freeze-dried and fresh, I'm not exaggerating. This literally tastes exactly like it did at the beginning of this video when I first made it. It's incredible. The first time I did freeze-dried guacamole, I was blown away because freeze-dried avocados are terrible. Somehow, some way, this is just perfect. Like it is the most perfect thing that I've ever freeze-dried. If you're interested in this recipe, you can go down in the description to get it. It's gonna be totally free. It's gonna be a PDF version of this recipe, so go down there to get it. What are you still doing here? Go to the grocery store, buy your stuff to do this.